Hi everybody, I'm Ryan. Today we're going to talk about Black-Green Yawgmoth in Modern and how to sideboard with it against the top 10 best decks in the format. I say best decks, the most popular decks in the format. And hopefully you can take the lessons we learned from the top 10 best decks to learn how to sideboard against all the other decks. Let's jump into it. The most popular deck in the format, I think this is to nobody's surprise, is Creativity. Against Creativity, obviously we're bringing in Thought Seizes in order to disrupt that combo. Similarly with Necromantia being able to disrupt the combo. Really, you kind of have to know your opponent's deck. Normally, naming Archon is a little bit better than naming Creativity, but sometimes post-board, they bring in, like, Emrakul's or something like that, so be aware. Bringing in Haywire Might, it's pretty solid against Fable, but also, like, pretty fine if they're trying to do Creativity on, like, a treasure or something, you know, especially since we can instant speed, grab it, and interrupt. And we are bringing in a Phyrexian Metamorph. In case they do the combo, we can kind of, like, combo them back by copying, and then it's, like, fine, you know, with the rest of our deck. We are going to be cutting 2 Birds of Paradise, mostly because, like, they run Wrenn and 6, our mana dorks just aren't that good. We're going to be cutting some Chord of Calling, mostly because they're able to control our board pretty well, so, like, rarely will we be able to convoke very properly. We're shaving a Prosperous Innkeeper, because often it just, like, you know, dies before it'll start doing the combo, and we're going to be shaving a Yawgmoth. You'll notice we're going to shave a Yawgmoth quite a bit, because it's probably the worst card in our deck, outside of the combo. So sideboard against Creativity. The second most popular deck in Modern is Murktide. Against Murktide, we are bringing in Endurance. It's important to control their graveyard so they cannot have a good DRC, especially instant speed, be able to reduce DRC, and we can kind of stop their Murktide stuff. I really like Thought Seizes for their counter magic, and we are cutting Eldritch Evolution, mostly because they have enough counter magic that, like, they can 2-for-1 us pretty easily by sacrificing a creature and that to cast Eldritch Evolution, and then they can just, like, kill our guy. And we're shaving 2 Ignoble Hierarch Bird Stand because they can block the flyers. This is how we sideboard against Murktide. The third most popular deck is Scam. Against Scam, we are bringing in Endurance because it's an instant speed way to interrupt any of the scams, especially if we have multiple, so they can't, like, grief away one and then we can't do the other or something. Bringing in Thought Seizes because when we are on the play, I'm also a big fan of Phyrexian Metamorph because even after they do the scam, if we can copy their Fury or Grief or something like that, we can kind of counter scam them, which is pretty cool. So this is the sideboard on the draw, where we're going to be bringing out Birds of Paradise, mostly because it's really important all our stuff does things, and we really only care about turn 1. Being a little bit faster on the way back through is a lot less important. So this is how I sideboard on the draw. On the play, I also like Thought Seizes. Thought Seize to basically just, like, if they keep a hand, we can Thought Seize them and kind of stop their scam, like, counteractively. And when we bring in Thought Seizes, we're going to cut 2 Chord of Callings and an Eldritch Evolution, mostly because we can't really have cards that rely on other cards. They can just leave a Chord of Calling or an Eldritch Evolution in our hand, and then our hand does nothing if they grief us. But we don't have enough cards to bring in, so we're going to leave some in our deck. And they're also totally fine, you know, if we survive the scam. So this is how I sideboard against Red-Black Scam on the play. The fourth most popular deck is Rhinos. We're going to bring in Thought Seize because we can get a Cascader. Their deck basically does nothing. We're going to bring in Necromantia if we can get Crashing Footfalls. The rest of their cascading effects do nothing. Bringing in Crime and Punishment because we can cast it for 0 to get rid of Rhinos. And similarly, Vilagru Silex to get rid of Rhinos. And we are going to be shaving 2 Stranglerootgeist. We like the lower to the ground stuff rather than, like, you know, higher power because it's important that we kill them before they start, like, super rhinoing us. Speaking of, we're going to shave some Birds of Paradise. We need a bunch of cards that, like, do things. And then we're going to be shaving an Eldritch Evolution and a Chord of Calling. It's important to have these effects, but having more of the other stuff is more important. We're not going to have a lot of opportunity to tutor. So only seeing one of these effects is normally all we need. And so this is sideboard against Rhinos. The fifth most popular deck in Modern is Living End. We are bringing in Necromantia, because if we can hit Living End, we win the game. We're going to hit Endurance, because we can exile their graveyard in response to Living End and win the game. Gonna bring in Haywire Might for fear of Leyline of Sanctity, because that can turn off our combo, because it's target player with Blood Artist. And for a similar reason, we are bringing in Force of Vigor. So we need everything in our deck to be able to do stuff and interrupt their combo. Wall Roots is pretty bad, and we're going to be shaving an Eldritch Evolution and a Chord of Calling, just like we do against most decks. So this is how we're going to sideboard against Living End. The fifth most popular deck is Hammer Time. And we're going to be just bringing in our Artifact 8. So Haywire Might, Crime and Punishment, Force of Vigor. I think Pylon is actually pretty good too. And we're going to be bringing out a bunch of our slower cards. So I like shaving on Grist. I like leaving 1 in. I like shaving on Wall of Roots, mostly because it doesn't really block things that matter. And this is how I sideboard against Hammer Time. The seventh most popular deck is an up-and-comer. Is Tron. Tron is finally coming back. We're bringing in Thought Seizes so they can get rid of the side of their deck that they only have 1 of, which would be awesome. Necromantia to be able to hit payoffs, Or notice that is a card other than basic land, so we can actually hit lands if they don't have Tron yet. A Haywire Might. Haywire Might can often interrupt, by like taking out a map or something. And similarly, I like bringing in Force of Vigor. And we're going to be cutting some number of Wall of Roots, mostly because, like, we don't need it to block, so it's just like a dork that costs 2 mana. We're going to be bringing out Endurance. They don't care about their graveyard, and neither do we. We're going to be bringing out a Grist because there's not really stuff to kill. And that is how we are going to sideboard against Tron. The 8th most popular deck is the Mirror. We're going to bring in Necromentia because if we can hit their Yawgmoth, then we have a giant advantage. And we're bringing in Endurance because it allows us to interrupt their combo. Bringing in Fatal Push. It's like really, really solid against the Mana Dorks or Wall of Roots to like slow them down. It's also really good against like Blood Artists or any of these enablers. And I actually think Pylon's pretty good too, being able to take out the Yawgmoth. And Phyrexian Metamorph allows us to hit things that like we don't have, maybe a combo piece that we need a piece of, like our opponent's Yawgmoth. And we're going to be shaving kind of all around. We want to remain a really good deck that has access to the combo. So we're going to shave like a few of everything. I like cutting 2 Birds of Paradise though, because the rest of our deck is just generally very, very good. So it's like sideboarding the mirror match. The 9th most popular deck is Burn. Against Burn, we are bringing in Fatal Push to be able to take out their creatures that are attacking. I like Haywire Might because like it can get rid of an Eidolon, but also when it dies, you gain 2 life, which is pretty sweet. And I'm a fan of Endurance just because it's a good blocker and can apply some pressure back. And we're just going to be cutting Grist because it doesn't really do anything in the matchup, and 1 Yawgmoth because losing life is really bad outside of the combo. So I sideboard against Burn. And the 10th most popular deck is kind of a cool one. Another one that became popular, like a lot more popular recently, is Hardened Scales. Against Hardened Scales, Crime and Punishment is good because you can just take out literally all of their stuff with punishment. Haywire Might to take out the Hardened Scales or their artifacts. Fatal Push to kind of stop their aggro. They often die to like 1 or 2 removal spells, similarly with Pylon. Force of Vigor, because again, just really good against these artifacts and enchantments in our opponent's deck. I actually like Filigree Xylex too, being able to take out a lot of their 1 mana stuff. A lot of their stuff is 1 mana. And they win with like really, really big attacks. We're going to be cutting Endurance. We don't care about their graveyard, neither do they. We're going to be shaving on Strangleroot Geist, mostly because, it's important that we have our combo cost less mana. So keeping our Young Wolf in is good. We're going to shave a Court of Calling and Eldritch Evolution like we do in a lot of matchups. And we're going to be shaving 2 Wall of Roots as well. Because just like a slower Mana Dork, yes, it can block, but most of the time when they're attacking, they attack for way too much or it's in the air. So sideboard against Hardened Scales. So there you have how to sideboard with Black-Green Yawgmoth against the top 10 most popular decks in Modern. If you like this video and want to see more videos like this, please be sure to like and subscribe. Check me out on social medias. Links are above me and in the description. And please check me out on Twitch. I stream there most nights. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.